What I'd like to talk about is, real stuff, that kids can do. Real stuff, real engineering, real programming, real technology. So that's some of what I'm going to talk about today. You'll see I've got bananas here as well. The bananas have become somewhat of a mascot for some of my projects that I've been working on. So the first idea that I'll tell you about, and this might help you in your workplaces, try and pitch the things to people and legitimise it somewhat. So we'll start with some theory. So this is sort of my take on the work of people like this Delahaye at QUT here in Brisbane, and Stacey and Halpin and people like that. And they took in systems theory, like applying systems theory stuff to management, leadership and management. And I've been really taken by this way of describing it because it's sort of given me a framework to explain some of what I'm seeing in my work. So we have this, the legitimate system and the shadow system. And so the legitimate system is where the bureaucracy is and all the formal sort of parts of what we do and all the things that keep our workplaces and businesses running. So, administrative things and so on, and making sure we've got money to do stuff and do our projects. And then there's the shadow system. And so you've probably heard about things like, Google's 20% sort of time and those sort of projects where people, might not be 20% exactly, but where people get to experiment and tinker with things and so on. And so that's what I'm a big advocate for, is like playful learning and then moving that across into a legitimate system. So what I'd say, so I'm being a bit cheeky here, so I've shown this to a lot of EQ teachers and stuff before, and so of course I put all this stuff on the side here like C2C and NAPLAN and all this sort of stuff, where I'm being a bit cheeky and I'm saying this is all the stuff that you have to do, and the stuff you've got to do when you're playing the game and getting things done. But it's not necessarily what's going to make you fulfilled like as a teacher and like really look at what you do and sort of say, oh, I'm still passionate about being a teacher. Where I think you'll have the fun is on the other side, where the things like robots and bananas and so on are. So, and then what happens is you show people what's possible in this side, and it moves over gradually into the other side. And then what the trick is you've got to have an awesome leadership team who recognise that, and they help you operate in the middle there in what's called bounded instability. So that's where you stop. It stops everything going too far one way or the other. So that's my little bit of theory to back up what I'm telling you about. So the other thing I'd love to show you about today is the barriers to entry for a lot of real stuff, real technology, are really lowered now, and it's something that you can do with students, and I'd really encourage you to take on and have a go at yourself. So a million years ago there was these Funway books, and you'd get these kits from Dick Smith, and they give you all these parts, and you'd sit at your kitchen table and solder them together, and inevitably it would work for about 5 minutes, and then your dodgy soldering skills would have failed you and stopped working. So, but now it's much, much simpler. So you can do similar sort of stuff, but the barriers to entry and the skills are much lower, and you also get you can do much more powerful stuff. So the first thing I'd love to tell you about that you might have seen already, and it's becoming a really cool thing that's captured people's imagination in schools, and it comes out of MIT Media Lab, and some students work there, and if they're like they're like my heroes, MIT Media Lab. Everything they do, it just seems to capture my attention. So they've made this cool thing called the Makey, and it's got some really powerful stuff behind it, but it actually, on its basic form, it's really simple. So it looks simple too, doesn't it? It looks quite inviting. But what it does is it basically pretends to be a keyboard input. So I've got one plugged in here using USB, and it will pretend to be the keyboard or the mouse and so on. And so this is something that we've been playing at my school, and gradually talking to other teachers about it, and every time I show people it, I always get all these messages and emails from people saying, oh, I've gone out and ordered more of them. So if you're working in schools at the moment, I think you'll probably see a lot of teachers starting to get excited about this sort of stuff. And it gives you a real stepping stone into getting any ages, really young, like early childhood, all the way up to high school and university, and getting excited about programming and creating things for the computer. So this is the front of it. So I'll show you how it works. So basically what you do is, it's all using what's called high resistance switching, and it's not high voltage switching, it's high resistance switching. So you don't have to worry about me being electrocuted on the stage here. So basically what you do is it's as simple as alligator clipping things. So if I alligator clip this here, it would act as the up key on the keyboard. But how it completes the circuit is using the ground part here. So I like to use this old anti-static strap, grounding strap, like you used to get with a lot of computer hardware. So if any of you have worked in, like been to TAFE and learnt how to do IT and hardware and stuff, you probably remember being told to use all these things before. So there is a use for them. So you clip it on there, and then when you join the circuit using your body or other things, then it triggers the keyboard. So I'll show you with the bananas. So it works with anything that's conductive. So this is some Play-Doh here that I stuck on here. So this one, I've used the green alligator clip because I like to maintain the convention of using green for the earth connection, especially when I'm working with students, like to get them into making sure that they're always working safely. And then when I touch this one, it won't because I don't have the program open. So here is the program. So we've got a banana piano, so I can play the piano like that. And of course, when I do it with students, they always straight away say, because they study music and know about this sort of thing, they say, no, Mr. Beveridge, you've got the scale wrong and all this sort of stuff, and they fix it all up for me. So it looks really complicated, but it's literally just a banana and a bit of Play-Doh, like that, alligator clipped together, because a banana is surprisingly conductive. And I could use anything there. I can use people, so I could actually, so if I get you to hop up in the front row there, and you hold the banana, and I'll hold this one, and then I'll touch your other hand, and it makes the circuit. So you can use anything. So it's a really, really cool way to get into creating physical interfaces for students programming. So what the programming is here is using something called Scratch, and it's literally just dragging and dropping things. So what I've done here is dropped a block that says when the up arrow is pressed, set the instrument to 1, so that's the piano, and then play this note. And so for all the other ones, I've just clipped them on, like left arrow, right arrow, up, down, and so on. So I could change the instrument here as well. So I could change it to a honky-tonk piano or something as well. So that's the basic sort of way of looking at the Makey. Now what's really cool is on the other side you can go even further. So it's got many more inputs on here. So on the front you've got just the 6, but on the back you've also got W, A, S, D, F and more. So if you play video games at all, you'd recognise that W, A, S, D, F is something that gamers often use on the keyboard for controlling video games. So when you're playing on the keyboard, those keys are together, so they use them for controlling. So of course then what happens is my students decide, oh, I'm going to play Minecraft with the Makey. So here's some examples of how I've used this as a tool for sort of engagement with teachers and students. So you'll see there, that's the box that the Makey comes in, and they're really cheap, like $49 US. That's pretty cheap to me. And the at the top there is one time where I set up a banana piano in primary school staff room, and I set it up there during class time, and then left it there with a note that said, pick up the chili. So I used a chili as the earth one, the grounding one, just because I thought that would be amusing. And then touch the bananas and be excited. And so that was all the instructions I left there and went away. And then I came back halfway through morning tea, then to find the teachers there playing songs and so on. So then I did it later in the day, of course, in the senior school staff room. And so there's a picture there of the head of science playing a song. He was playing Happy Birthday or something, and the French teacher playing Frère Jacques. Of course, the senior school students the teachers were much more suspicious because they saw all these wires, and then they had a feeling that it was something that I'd set up, and they thought, oh, Nathan must be trying to electrocute us or something like that. So they were very hesitant to do it. But primary school teachers, they just sleep right in and have a go. So you'll see example of that there is that then the grade 5 teacher came back in and said, oh, Nathan, I'm going to bring the kids into the staff room. We're going to have a go at this. So you'll see there at the top the whole grade 5 class having a go at it, and they realised very quickly that idea that we just demonstrated here, where if you create a circuit all the way around the room, and now it went all the way around the circle of kids, and so then the last one, and then what would happen is one of the kids inevitably would let go, and then people wondering why it's not working, and then they'd have to find out where in the circuit it wasn't working again. So that's just sort of an example of like just this playful stuff. I mean, that's not in the curriculum. There's nothing in the C2C or in the Australian curriculum about bananas and electronics, but just playing like that and showing people what's possible and tinkering has opened up all these things. See, now we could be demonstrating real curriculum stuff using these cool devices. Now you'll see the other pictures here. I have a group of extracurricular group of tech students. So we call them technical services, but that's just sort of a legacy term. I call them my tech ninjas. And you can see here what they were doing is they hooked the stairs in our science building up to the Makey to make it into piano stairs. So as you walked up the stairs, it would play each note. And they hooked the, you'll see on here, they hooked the grounding strap, the earth strap, up to the handrail. So when you put your hand on the handrail, it completed the circuit. So they did a lot of experimentation and so on what would be how the conductivity of it sort of worked, and and when it didn't work, then there was a lot of troubleshooting going on. Why doesn't it work? And or do you have to have really sweaty socks or something to make it work, and so on, like all these different things. And it was really great learning experience for them. And of course then this playful stuff on the shadow side then ends up sort of becoming more legitimate. All these teachers start coming to us and saying, oh, how does this work? Can you explain to my class how this works? Or, can the girls explain how it works? And so we ended up doing it for other things. So now the tech girls get asked to set it up for things like Open Day, and we had a science conference and so on.